Hello and welcome to Tuesday on 5 Countries 1 vlog. I always do that, don't I? Okay, first order of business. I'm sorry for another webcam video, but this time it's because I forgot to charge my camera. Second order of business. I forgot to say this last time, did I mean to say this last time? But the proper pronunciation for Happy Christmas in Irish, which is a bit late, but it's Nollaig Hunna Dit. Nollaig Hunna Dit. Not whatever Kate tried to say. This theme for this week is a person who is important or influential from your country. Mine is just a person from my country who has been influential in their field, and my person is Patrick Kavanagh. I don't know how famous Irish poets are outside of Ireland. For years we were known as the land of saints and scholars. Go us. But we've had such writers and authors and stuff, like we've had W.B. Yeats, Oscar Wilde, James Joyce, Seamus Heaney, and last but not least, Patrick Kavanagh. Patrick Kavanagh, he isn't the most recognised of this poem like W.B. Yeats and Seamus Heaney. They're both won the Nobel Prize for Literature. But to me, he is the most interesting. So he was born in 1904 in Monaghan. It's in the mid to north region of Ireland, and it is predominantly a rural region. It is just below Northern Ireland. He was brought up on a farm, a very, very small farm, not well-off farm at all. His father was a cobbler, tried to make shoes. Kavanagh was in school until the age of 13, when he left, but that was the norm back then. He tried to follow in his father's footsteps in becoming a cobbler. After 15 months of working with him, he never made a pair of usable shoes. So that didn't work out for him, so he decided he would farm the land. From a young age, he loved to read, and he would write poetry as well, and he thought he was okay, but he didn't think he was brilliant. But he submitted one of his poems to a magazine called The Ploughman, and it was published. Well, I think he submitted a few, but The Ploughman was published. And later that year, a very prominent London literary magazine selected his poem The Ploughman as one of the best poems of that year, which was a big thing for him. He was only 25 at the time. Then he kind of went from strength to strength, but the hard bit on him was that he was always considered an outcast at home. He was a poet on a farm. It wasn't considered right to be a poet for him. But then he moved to Dublin, thinking that he could get in with more literary circles and be finally included. But even when he got to there, he was still an outcast because he was that old culchie from Monaghan. For people who don't know what a culchie is, think country bumpkin. That was in 1939 he moved to Dublin. I have my notes here. Even though he had been alienated so much at home and was still alienated in Dublin, he had a lot of love and a lot of hate for his hometown. As he began to make a name for himself in Dublin, he began to isolate himself even more. Some of his poetry suggests that he felt that he had to write good poetry because he had to be able to observe the people from a distance so that he could really write about them. And because of that, he kind of got driven half insane. He was known as an eccentric character, and he was driven to drink. He was a raging alcoholic, and his life was just a spiraling pit of doom and drink and stuff. In 1955, the biggest thing of his life happened. He was diagnosed with lung cancer, and he had to have a lung removed, which at the time was massive. You were not expected to live through that surgery. That was like a last-ditch surgery. He lived through it. Spurred him on to have a new outlook on life. He was so really changed what he saw around him. He was accepted as a lecturer in UCD, University College Dublin. Went through an extraordinary period of poetic inspiration, and he found the love of his life. He married in 1967 after meeting her in 1957, Unfortunately, he passed away that same year from diseases still relating back to his lungs, which is, I always find to be quite sad that he lived such a hard life, but the minute he started to get happy, it was all just taken away from him. Even as a poet, he has always been very well respected. People have praised the lyrical quality of his poetry, his mastery of language and form, ability to transform the parochial countryside stuff into something truly universal. But as well, he's always lived in the hearts of the people, because he wrote the words to On Raglan Road, which is a song that is always whipped out at every wedding, every funeral, and every occasion where people come together with drink. None have surpassed Luke Kelly's version. That version is the savage thingy thing. Sculpture in his figure now sitting on a bench overlooking the canal in Dublin, which is exactly what, well, not exactly what he asked, but he asked, "Oh, commemorate me with no hero courageous tomb, just a canal bank seat for the passerby." So I have left some prescribed reading below and a link to the aforementioned On Raglan Road, sung by Luke Kelly of the Dubliners, which is Boshta Car Boshta. So read and listen and comment and ride a pony. 14 minutes. Bye bye.